When it comes to discussing the realities of parenting, you can expect some sensitive material and occasional profanity.
Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Anonymous Mom, a podcast where two childhood friends reconnect to discuss mom life, adulting, and everything in between.
And this week, the struggle is social media for adults and children.
Yeah, I'm pertaining more to adults right now, just because I'm making it about me.
And I'm just interested, because she obviously isn't on social media yet, but for the future. Before we begin to, we couldn't figure out who was going to start the intro. And then you said, say something. And I go, say something. And it triggered the fact that my daughter just entered that stage of, I'm going to repeat everything you say. And I might lose my mind because it's been happening a lot. And I mean, she at least listens when I go, okay, seriously, don't do that. I guess like she'll go and I'll go, please don't do that. And then she knows, like, thank God, some boundaries. Where when it's like, no, that's not funny anymore. But I'm not saying that she's going to continue with that, because she's probably going to get to, no, that's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, another update. Speaking of social media, I was on Twitter posting about our giveaway, which, if all of you don't know, we have a giveaway contest for some new handbags that we've made. Would you call it a handbag? What would you call that?
I would call it a pouch. With
new pouches that we have inspired by our crying episode. The giveaway is, if you review Anonymous Mom Podcast on Apple Podcast, take a screenshot of your review and email it to us at anonymousmompod@gmail.com. You get entered in a contest to win one of our pouches filled with self-care goodies. And I'm very excited for it. But I was on Twitter posting about it, and there's a mom I follow on there. I forget her name, but she brought up how she had no idea that it is totally normal for kids to wake up at the same time in the middle of the night every night until about 6 years old. And I'm not kidding. I almost cried. I'm very hormonal right now. But I almost cried because I was like, oh my God, it's not just me.
Oh no.
And like, I know it's not just
it's
me,
not, but then
it's actually normal.
Yeah.
That is not just me, but that this is totally, I shouldn't say common, that it's common for this to happen. And so I responded to her. I'm like, oh my God, I feel so much better. And her child is 4.5 as well. And so it's just so interesting that this is happening with the exact same age, and that there's, a light at the end of the tunnel now.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to stress as much about it. And it's just those little things that knowledge is power, people.
Circling back.
Yeah.
You got that from social media.
Yes.
So that is there's plus for the social
yes.
media. And that's where I struggle with. I don't want to have it all the time, and I don't want to be on it all the time. But then there's certain things that I read that I'm like, fuck yes, I needed that. And if I didn't have social media, I wouldn't have had that, So that is how I struggle with social media so much with.
I will say though, too, my perspective was I kind of felt powerless about it. And if I would have probably just Googled, is this normal?
You would have found it.
I would have found it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it made me think, like, it just made me feel like we've talked about this before too, though, like, well, this is somehow on me, or I need to do something different, and blah, blah, blah. Instead of like, is this common?
Mm-hmm.
If anybody else is struggling with that, just know it's completely common, and that makes me just
even after that, because I said name. She had night terrors for a really, really long time.
Okay.
A really long time. And I do remember thinking, why is my kid doing this? But then, of course, I Googled, and I'm sure, I always say, if anybody looked at my Google search history, they would be like, what is wrong with you? I Google way too much, and I Google the dumbest things, and I like legit Google the whole entire sentence. Like, I don't just like words. I Google like the whole thing.
As long as you're not Googling, what did Lauren Boebert, because her Google search got hacked.
Oh,
and she Googled how big is a duck's penis.
Oh, I mean, I've never done that, but I think I probably Googled just out of like, I'm not even gonna go there. This is a whole nother.
Yeah, we don't need to tell people. But anyways, speaking of night terrors, that she's giving me night terrors because we were coming home yesterday. She keeps not shutting the door, and I get this anxiety of somebody walking by and seeing us at her place. And I'm just like, just come inside and shut the door. She goes, no, I have to wait for Mr. Jefferson to come in. I'm like, who's Mr. Jefferson? And I'm like, shut the door. Because then there's this wall man that she talks about. I'm like, is Mr. Jefferson this wall man? Can she see ghosts? Is this the Sixth Sense? Is she Haley Joel Osment and I have no idea?
I love that.
Well, and then she woke up because she normally doesn't wake up with nightmares at school, but I had her parent-teacher conference over the phone, and her teacher was like, one of the other substitute teachers said that she had woken up from a night, like not night terror, but a nap terror. And that she described like there are people walking around like scarecrows almost and just walking. So I'm like, well, obviously she loves Wizard of Oz. That's probably coming from that. But it was
fucking Wizard of Oz. I fucking hate that movie. It has given me nightmares since I can remember. I do not like watching it. I think it's fucking weird. I hate that movie. I think it's the stupidest movie and I do not like that movie.
I feel like we just transitioned to this being about nightmares, but that gave me an idea. We need to do an episode on nightmares.
We do. Okay, let's social media.
That's
back to social media.
But so tune in a future episode while we talk about that stuff. But social media, yes. So pros and cons, obviously.
Yes. And so we did a poll on our page.
Yes.
It seems like most people scroll or get on social media when they're bored, which it's so funny because lately that's 100% what I've been doing. And it's because I'm sitting on the couch and there's nothing on TV and I'll just pick up my phone and then I start scrolling. And I will say there's certain times like I have gotten my social media, I should say my Instagram, down to following things that typically make me happy. Because for a really long time I had all kinds of stuff on there and it was like not bringing me joy. I would scroll and it's stuff I want to know about.
Your energy versus
but it was making me mad and it was making me angry. But lately I've just been scrolling and as I'm scrolling I'm like, what am I doing? Like I'm legit doing the finger thing right now. Like I'm doing scrolling and I'm like, what am I doing? This is so dumb. There's nothing on TV. There's nothing on social media. But then what do?
Well, and then we're going to have our hobbies episode.
Right.
In our boredom episode, we talk about how you need to sit in your boredom. We're not giving ourselves the opportunity to sit in our boredom. What should we do? We should be sitting there, not doing anything or reading a book. I told you I did that the other night. I sabotaged myself. I just was so exhausted. So what do? I do the thing that I know is mindless and that makes that exhaustion feel okay because it's already draining me anyways. I don't know what logic that is, but
just such that knee-jerk reaction of
you just pick up your phone.
Right. And then I know people who can get on social media and they don't seem to get anxiety ridden. I'll be on it, especially like Facebook. And sometimes you're like on it and all you see is like just stuff you don't care about. But then why am I looking at it? Why do I keep looking at it? I don't care, but I keep watching. What am I gaining? I don't know.
Nothing. That's the end of our show.
And I think part of it is I used to really, really have an issue with FOMO.
I have JOMO, the joy of missing out.
So I have a book that's called JOMO and I love it because I'm now a JOMO person. I freaking love now I'm JOMO. But before I was FOMO. I never wanted to miss out on anything. The fear of missing out was huge for me. And then you throw social media on that. The only thing that I think I gain when I have a little bit of FOMO is then I look at it and then I'm like, okay, I'm putting that out on my list of things that I want to do. So like now I try to turn it into like I see somebody doing this with their family. I want to do that with my family. So I have ironically, I have a little post-it in front of me that says turn envy into inspiration.
Oh, I like that.
Use that. But so use social media. Trying to think of ways that, because we
need time limits. That's the problem.
Limits?
This isn't happening when we're on it for 10 to 15 minutes. This is happening when we allow ourselves to get bored. It's the boredom part. When you're in the energy of that low vibration before you even get on it, you're going to pick up that low vibration shit.
Right. I was scrolling the other night and this is a shout out to Kat and Nat. If you listen to our podcast, I love you. They posted something and it was pretty much a social media thing where it was like, if you're a woman, just a heads up, make sure you're not too loud. Make sure you don't love yourself too much. Don't lose weight. Get ready for it if you do. And then definitely don't gain weight because the internet owns your body. And if you become a mom, don't work, but also don't stay home. And don't talk about motherhood being hard. You wanted it, remember? Also, don't dress up because women over a certain age look like they're trying too hard or they're desperate. Also, be successful, but pretend you're not because that offends people. And then there's all of it. But it's like you're reading it and you're going, that's exactly how social media is. if you post something about loving your body, then people are going to go, oh God, you're conceited. Or she thinks
you can't read
really
the comments.
hot. It's just the judgment level that goes into it is so hard sometimes. And as I'm reading it, it's like everything that social media stands for sometimes. I don't know. I think social media can be so awesome because I love following Kat and Nat on there. But then
you said it earlier is what you did, like when you filtered through. It's like we have to start taking control over that. With Instagram, it's easier where the stuff that you follow, if you block something or mute something, they're going to know you don't want that. But then at the same time, like people who pay to have their stuff come on your feed, but then you can scroll. TikTok's a little harder because like for your page stuff will just pop up if they think you're interested in it.
So I don't go on TikTok. I've lost 5 hours
TikTok
of my life.
is? Okay, because like think about this. I just had that, like, so we're scrolling, right? When we were younger, back in our day, when we had TVs with remotes and you had only like 10 channels and like you just flipped through like over and over. It's that with no ending. So like you flipped through, the 20 channels you had and you maybe flipped through again and then that was it because you knew that was all you have. It's you flipping through the channels endlessly.
Right. I'm trying to find positives in it only because I do think there are so many positives. If you have a business, it's amazing. It's free marketing, which back in the day, you couldn't have free marketing. You had to go and whatever. So positive there. One positive that I had that was huge is I read a book. I ended up meeting a woman in the Madison area and she ended up being friends with some other people that I knew, but we ended up meeting and she was able to introduce me to the 911 dispatcher that was on the phone with me when we had. So in this weird thing, because I read this book, so like, that's where I'm so glad I had social media, because if I didn't have Facebook and I didn't have this, I would have never met this woman ever. There's so many things that I can like be positive about it, but then there's so many things that I'm like,
well, here's the thing. We really got to pay attention to the energy we're in before we even get on.
Right.
And like, take a note. Are you already in this like funk and you think that it's going to change that? Or are you in a positive mood when you had that experience happen?
Yeah.
Because I think we have to feel more in control when it comes to that. And then with our kids too, because there's a lot of shit on there.
Right. Oh God. I mean, I don't even know what my kids are watching on social media.
When did they get on?
I think they've had it for at least 2 or 3 years. 2 years probably, because we've been at our house for 5.
Oh, okay.
My oldest has taken herself off of it. She told me the other week, she's like, I have not watched TikTok for like 2 months. And then too, like, it's funny because some of the things that they're watching is neat because I see the things that they're doing from watching TikToks and they're doing the dances and so it's like,
it's just not taking it to excess. It's the excess.
Right. Then I worry about like, okay, body image and, are they like worried about what they look like? Are they doing this? And like a lot of things that they watch are like makeup videos and how to put makeup on.
Yeah.
And they're having fun with it and making their own little makeup videos. But social media and girls is.
Well, tricky. I'm on kidshealth.org right now. They talk about what's good about social media. So for kids, it can help you stay connected with friends and family. You can volunteer or get involved with a campaign, nonprofit, or charity. It can enhance your creativity by sharing your ideas, music, and art. I think the makeup is part of that. You can meet and interact with others who share similar interests. So broaden your community of like-minded people, communicate with educators and fellow students. You can access health information. That's a double-edged sword, though, because you can get misinformation and you can learn about current events. But that's also a bad thing, too, because there's a lot of current events that are just terrible.
And I don't watch the news for a reason.
Exactly. And so on the flip side, though, it can be a hub for potentially harmful and questionable activities, those like ridiculous challenges and stuff. But at the same time, too, we talk about this all the time. You have to talk to your kids.
Right.
You have to be like, listen, there's a lot of crazy stuff out there.
Right. And have the hard conversations, but don't scare them either. So that's that, like.
And I mean, too, like I've read so many horror stories of kids on YouTube, kids who have their own channels and these creepy ass.
I know.
Middle-aged dudes. And
so fucking gross.
So I think they said what's the like proper age. I feel like they said it was between 8 and 12 is when kids first get interested in it. Legally, they're not supposed to be on there till they're 13.
Right.
I know, like, that's technically, but then there's stuff where it says, is this okay for kids under 13? So it's like, so they know that.
Right. And I also think it depends on each kid. I know some kids
Absolutely.
that they're so responsible and can totally regulate themselves, and then other ones can't. And so I think it's based on, I mean, you have to make the judgment call on yourself, and
you have to talk to your kids. So the bads too, cyberbullying, the privacy and safety thing, risks to their reputation, mental health effects. I think that's huge because, like we said, when you're on, look at how it affects our mental health. And we're able to regulate ourselves a lot more as adults. Our brains are already fully developed. After 25, that shit's locked in. So, inappropriate content, time drain. I think time drain, honestly, for all of us. Like I said, for work, I have to do it. And then I get sucked into it after that. I need to just put my phone in a box.
Yeah.
It is. It's so draining.
It's so draining. And it is a struggle because sometimes I go on it because a lot of the things I follow on Instagram are my daily, what the universe is telling me. And so I love going on there.
We just have to have time limits. It should be part. Actually, how about this? This is okay. We talk about routine. It needs to be part of our routine. We have 10 to 15 minutes to go on it in the morning, to look at the positive affirmation for the day. And that's it. It should be on a routine and like a scheduled thing, because then that way you're not feeling this urge, but it is a struggle. Hence why it's on this. The other thing too, from a New York Times article from March 2022, they highlight a report that says that there's been about a 17% increase in screen use among teens and tweens in the last 2 years. And that's more than in the 4 years prior to that. And obviously high COVID. But I just feel like we're on this shift of not wanting to be on it as much. I really do.
Right.
Everything that is new, like put your energy into, and then you kind of go, okay. And on to the next thing.
Too, the older you get, the more you're like, I don't really give a fuck, like about what everybody's doing. I guess I want to know if anybody else feels this way. How you feel about Facebook is not how I feel about Instagram. Like Instagram and Facebook are two totally different social media.
Twitter, look at that. I mean,
I'm not on Twitter either.
It's terrible.
My husband is on Facebook now, and he got on it because of the marketplace. He's like, I want to be able to buy and sell stuff on there.
He got on it because of the podcast.
He did secretly. Don't tell anybody, but he did. So, and it's funny because he sold a few things on it. And he's like, why have I not been on here earlier? And I was like, it's because, well, we always laugh because I was just watching Modern Family and Claire just got on Facebook. It's an old episode. And they're like, Mom, I thought you said that Facebook was just for having affairs. And I died because I remember like back in the day where like you heard secret, and it's like, it's just, I do feel like shady shit can happen.
Oh, yeah.
Like the hopping into DMs, like I don't understand that, but
that's and this also says, what can parents do? Because they said you want to be aware of what your kids are doing online, but the snooping can alienate them and damage the trust between, so that can actually push them farther down the sketchy slope of social media.
I just don't want to do that with my kids, so that's why I don't have. No, just kidding.
So they say kids understand that you respect their privacy. They're going to want to be more open. So they say it's important to be nice. So mean behavior is never okay. You make it clear that you expect your kids to treat others with respect. Because like it's the do unto others as you want them to do unto you. And karma. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Think twice before hitting enter. So making it mindful before you post anything, read through it. It's important too about the privacy settings so that you go through it with them to make sure that they understand what those things mean. Because it's okay to say like there are people who don't have your best interest in mind when you're on there, without scaring them. They say follow the WWGS rule, which is what would grandma say rule. So shame them into thinking of what their grandma's going to say.
I don't know if I like that very much.
I know. They say also to make a contract, consider making a social media agreement with your kids that they can sign, that they agree to protect their own privacy. I don't really think that's going to work. But
I don't know. That seems.
Here's the thing that I think is the most important is you got to be the example. If your kids see you always on your phone and always on social media, why would they think you can't, then telling them you can't be on there that much, but you're on it all the time. You know what I mean? Like, my parenting style is, yes, you're an adult and it's different, but your kids don't get that. And so I want to do better and not be like, it's hard. But like I said, too, with my job, I do really feel like if I didn't have to be on it, I wouldn't be on it. Like the only reason I'm on Facebook is because because I had to be on it.
Right. So I do say that, but then too, I would never get off of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Because I was like, like when I worked the social media, whatever, and I said, oh, as soon, but I won't get off of it. I won't.
Yeah.
I talk a big game, but I'm not going to.
Talk a big game.
Talk a big game, but it is not happening. So
oh my God. It's limits, honestly, because like I was even trying to find like how much is okay. And I feel like
answer.
Well, they say they just relate it to screen time. And I'm like, I feel like screen time is different than strictly social media.
Right. Yeah.
You can't combine the two. So like
you can't.
The CDC recommends no more than 2 hours of screen time or social media use a day for young people. 2 hours, I think, is too much social media, but is it too much screen time? No.
Right, but are you like scanning out the 2 hours of social media?
That's what I mean. Like, is there one in the earlier in the day and then one later in the day?
Yeah. Like, are we doing like 15-minute intervals?
Yeah. And then there's one that says, 13-year-olds are too young to be on social media. Teens on average of 9 hours of media a day. I know that TikTok actually announced that they're doing a time limit, which I think is great. And it's an hour for kids under 16, I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't know what kids I have, what age I have my kids.
What age are my kids?
What are my kids' ages on TikTok? For more parenting tips, ask.
I forgot that. Well, just make sure that they're like under 16 at least, okay? I haven't seen it in a while, but they used to have when you were scrolling, there would be a video that would pop up and be like, hey, you've been on here for a while. Maybe you should take a break. And like, I love that idea of like any social media having a timer, like our Zoom, like how our Zoom says, hey man, you got like 5 minutes left. There should be one for social media.
That should be.
That you can set. It should be your control.
Yes.
Okay, I only want to be here on 15 minutes. And that you can set a timer and then something pops up. Mark Zuckerberg, get at us. I got a great idea.
Yeah, we can do this.
I know it hurts your sales, but for my personal well-being.
Yeah.
Or you know what? We can do it on our own though. Like before you get on social media, set a timer on your phone. That fucking timer goes off. You're done.
Yep.
You're done.
Alexa, set a timer.
Be like, what are you talking? Oh wait, I have headphones. Oh my God. Well, that is all the time we have for this week's episode. But share your social media struggles with us in the Anonymous Mom Facebook group or email us at anonymousmompod@gmail.com. Don't forget about our giveaway contest too.
And if you want to be on an episode of The Struggle Is, go to our website. You can just click a little button and record yourself. And there's a possibility you will be featured on the next Struggle Is.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in and we will talk to you all next week.
Peace out. Thanks for tuning in to Anonymous Mom. Have a question you want answered or a topic you'd love for us to discuss?
Email us at anonymousmompod@gmail.com. Or if you want to remain anonymous, join our Facebook group, Anonymous Mom, where you can post your topic or question anonymously.
Thanks for listening.